Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to day 2 of Christmas in July. In today's video, we're going to be making these adorable little Christmas cloche ornaments using a tuna can. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, subscribe, turn on the notifications bell, and also make sure that notifications is set to all. All right, so let's get started. So I saved a couple of tuna cans and I went ahead and spray painted them this gold color. You don't have to spray paint them. You can keep them the color of the can. I just ripped off the label. I washed them out really good. Obviously, I didn't want my project smelling like tuna fish. So I rinsed them. I let them soak for a little bit, washed them out really good, and spray painted them. Now, my tuna can, I actually have one of the can openers that open the can from the side, so it makes a nice, the lid is actually replaceable on the can and it doesn't leave any sharp edges. If you're using a tuna can, or if you're using any other type of a can, make sure that you're using a can that doesn't have any sharp edges on the lid. If you don't have that, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to make a cardboard template using the shape of your tuna can, and that would be really easy. You would just take a piece of cardstock or cardboard and trace out the circle and then cut it out, and you can use that instead. But I'm gonna just go ahead and use the lid since I have it. We'll kind of go over supplies as we need them, but I printed out one of my papers. This is from my paper kit in my Etsy. It's also going to be available to channel members once my channel membership is up and ready to go. But for now, you can get them off of my Etsy shop at Shop Wicked Vintage. I have a whole series of Christmas papers that I'm going to be using in a bunch of different projects that I have for this month. So we're going to be using this one. It's a full cookie jar, makes a home homey. It's a page from a Betty Crocker cookbook on a really nice background with some shiny bright ornaments. We're just going to be using a small amount of this paper, and we're going to do that just to cover the outside of the can and basically put like a new label on the can. All right, so to get started, I am going to use my can as a guide, and we're just going to measure it so I know how wide I want to cut my paper. Now, I believe it's just about 1 inch. So yeah, it's just slightly over 1 inch, but I'm going to cut my strip to be 1 inch because I don't want it hanging over the edges, and I want a little bit of the lip of the metal showing. So we're going to just cut a 1 inch strip, and basically what I want to make sure that I'm doing is I want to get this part of the paper, this saying a full cookie jar makes a home homey. I want to make sure that is in the strip. I'm going to cut a long strip. So I am just going to use my ruler just to make like a little guide so that I know I'm cutting around my words. I'm going to need to cut just at the bottom of this like frame, and then just above this paragraph of words right here. So I'm gonna cut this big long strip, and I'll get my cutter out to do that. All right, so I've lined it up, and I think right there is good. So we've got a strip. We're gonna save our paper obviously for other projects, but I'm pretty sure we're only gonna be using this little strip right here in this project. So now I have my strip that I want to go around my jar, just like such. So we're basically putting a new label on this jar. So before I glue my label down, I'm gonna go ahead and distress up my edges so that the label looks older with my archival ground coffee ink. It's a little bit darker of a color, but for a lot of my Christmas decorations this year, I'm kind of going for that real dark, kind of more rustic look in my decorating. But obviously, if you don't like distressing, you can use any paper you want. This project can be done in a lot of different ways. Okay, so I'm also making sure to get these little white ends down on both sides. I'm not cutting those off because I will need them to get the full length so that the label wraps around the jar completely. So as you can see, it's gonna wrap around just like that, and you're gonna get just a little bit of that paper showing, which we can cover up with something afterwards. All right, so to get this attached to my can, I'm gonna actually use some glue tape. And I have some hot glue as well. So I'm just gonna run a couple strips of the glue tape all the way along the inside of my paper strip here. Okay, so I'm gonna put this little label right as close as I can get to that little lip on my jar or on my can here. And I'm gonna just wrap it around, and you'll see that glue tape works really good to stick it quickly. And then just to put this little flap down, I'm gonna just take a little bit of hot glue. You can use regular glue or Fabrifix. I'm just using a little hot glue. All right, so now we have our label on our can. So at the Goodwill bins, I always pick up little knickknacks and trinkets and different things that I find. And I found this really cute little napkin ring holder that had some Christmas trees on it. I only found one, but I still always take them because I can always use things like this in crafting. So this actually is gonna make a little base or a little stand for our little cloche that we're gonna make. So I am just going to use hot glue for this. You can use E6000 or whatever kind of crafting glue that you like. I'm just using hot glue for the purposes of I'm trying to do this project fairly quickly. So I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue just around the ring of my napkin ring here. And I'm just making sure that it's upright because there are little Christmas trees on there. And then I'm using the circles on the bottom of my tin can to just as a guide to just know where the center of my can is. And then we're just going to glue that to the base. So now we have a nice little base just like this where we can start to decorate. All right, so I have my little treasure chest full of stuff that I've collected to make this project. And I'm going to show you some of the things, and most of the things are little things that I've collected from thrift stores and just like little knick-knacky things. We're going to use this little guy right here. He's a little tiny squirrel. I found him in the Goodwill bins at the bottom of a bin, and I thought he was so cute, so I took him home. So he's going to be like the main character in this little scene that we're going to do. So in addition to him, I have 1/2 of a clear Christmas bulb, the refillable Christmas bulbs that you can get. I have ordered these on Amazon. I will link these below so you guys can go get them. So I've used them for so many different projects, and you can get so many different uses out of them. So I'm only going to use 1/2 of the ornament, and this is going to be basically the top to our cloche. I also have a few other little things. I have some miniature garland, some miniature white garland. I have a few little sprigs of vintage greenery. Obviously, I'm not going to use all of this. I'm only going to use little pieces of it because we're not going to use a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of area to decorate, but I'm just pulling some things out that I probably will use. I also have some of this really pretty red thread, and it's a thicker thread too. And then I have a couple little decorations, a little miniature Christmas ball, a couple little foam glitter balls. You can get all these little things at craft stores like Hobby Lobby or Joann's. I've literally collected mine over the years, so I have stuff, you know, from Dollar Tree, Christmas season last year. So I'm just kind of going through stuff that I have. I also have this little tiny peppermint, and it has like a hook on it, but we're going to take everything that has a hook on it off because I'm not going to use the actual hook. But this came in a little set. I believe this came from Hobby Lobby with a set of other peppermints and like miniature reindeer and stuff like that. So I grabbed that. I've got some little mini bottle brush trees, some little mini pine cones. Again, these were all little picks that came out of greenery, probably that I got from the thrift store. And I also have a little tiny spool. Now I ordered a whole bunch of these little spools off Amazon. This will also be in the description below, so you can go ahead and pick those up. These are great for different crafts. So they're really tiny. I think they're only like 1/2 inch. Yeah, they're 1/2 inch spools, so they're really tiny, perfect for little projects. Then I have a few little tags, and here are some little Christmas tags. I will list the link for these Christmas tags. They are on Etsy as a digital download, so I just picked a few different little Christmas tags out. And I also have a little scrap piece of, it's a very tiny little scrap piece of Christmas ribbon. I have some Scrabble pieces that again, I always pick up things like this at Goodwill bins. Whenever I see games that are like open and all out inside the bins, I'll just take all the little pieces because I use them in crafting. So I just grabbed the letters that spell out nuts because we're making a project with a squirrel and squirrels collect nuts. So that is going to go into our project. And then last but not least, I have one of my teeny tiny little golden book miniature books that we put together. We put some of these together on a live, but you can go check out the recorded version of the live video of us putting these together. These little miniatures, I believe I'm going to put up in my Etsy shop as well. So we're going to be using the cover to our tuna can, just like this. It's going to set right back on the top of the can. But we're going to start to decorate this, and then we're also going to make sure that whatever we decorate with, we're going to be able to fit this ornament on the top as like a cloche cover. So now the ornament has a little hang tag on it. I am going to go ahead and clip that off because I do not need it. And I do have some little clips here, and I'm going to just try to clip this off as carefully as possible without cracking the plastic. And most of the time you can use just a little set of pliers and it will clip right off. And then if you want to, you can sand that right down. Now, I also have a can of this. It's like confetti snow. And you can get this at any craft store. I think you could get it at Dollar Tree at one point. I think I've gotten mine, you know, honestly, I think I got mine in a baggie from the Goodwill bins in some decorations. But this is that kind of snow that you can use if you're decorating like a Christmas miniature scenery or like a little Christmas village. But it's just the loose snow, just like that. And we're going to use some of that to decorate the top of our jar. So I'm just going to paint on my Mod Podge just onto the top of my lid. Just a nice light coat of the Mod Podge. Just enough so that way I can get that snow to stick. And I have a plate here also so that I can use to catch this glittery snow. So I'm just going to do a nice little coating of it. And then I'm just going to take my finger and kind of press it down right into that Mod Podge so that I know I have a good coating. Okay, so I have my glitter on my lid here, as you can see. It just covers the top a little bit, so it looks like fresh snow. And I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing down all of the little pieces that are gonna fit underneath my globe. Now, I played around a little ahead of time to make sure that all the pieces that I have will fit under there okay. So I kind of know, so you're just gonna have to play around with different things that will work for you. So I'm gonna just take my little Scrabble pieces and using hot glue, I'm gonna just kind of scatter glue them down in my lid. And again, I'm just making sure as I go that everything still fits good. So there are my Scrabble pieces. And again, I'm just going to keep going back in and making sure my lid fits over the top. Okay. Right, so I have my little squirrel guy here. He's tiny. He is only about maybe 1.25 inches high. But I'm going to put this little ribbon scarf around him just so that it makes him a little bit more Christmas festive. So I just have a tiny little piece of ribbon scrap and I'm just going to tie it around his neck just so it looks like a little Christmas scarf. That's why I always say save those scraps because you never know what you're going to need them for. This is just a tiny little piece that normally I probably would have thrown away, but it fits this guy perfectly. So I'm going to just trim this off just a little bit so it's not so big. But there's his cute little scarf, as you can see, around his neck. Okay, so he's going to be kind of like the centerpiece to our little ornament here. I'm going to use my little golden book miniature here. We're going to lay this down right in the center of our little cover. And I'm going to glue this down also. Everything, I'm using hot glue pretty much for everything here today, but I'm just going to kind of glue it right down in the center, laying flat like that. And we're going to have our little guy kind of sitting on the inside of the book, almost like he's trying to read it. So So I'll put a little hot glue on his tail and on his feet. And just kind of sit him right there on top of that book. Okay, so I have a little bottle, tiny miniature bottle brush tree. And we're gonna put this little guy just in the back behind our little Scrabble letters. So we have a little bit of background greenery going on here. Again, I'm just making sure everything still fits when I put the cover down on it. And I'm making sure everything is kind of pushed down securely. There. You might need to glue a few of the pages down. If you have pages in your book, I had to glue a couple of them down. Okay, now we're gonna just continue decorating. I'm gonna use this little peppermint and just clip off that little plastic hook on the little peppermint. And I think I'll stick the little peppermint kind of just in front of him. And again, this is all just like, there's so many different things that you guys can do to decorate, so many different things that you can use, but I'm just kind of using things that I have and just playing around. I find that layering things up works really well when you're making like little scenery pieces like this. Sometimes things might even be too big and I think I'm going to use them and then I don't end up using them. So I have these cute little tiny miniature pine cones and they have a wire on them. I'm going to take the wire right off because I don't need the wire, but they're just wired. So I'm taking the wire right off and we're just going to put a couple of these little pine cones around here also. Maybe one right in the front here. I have a few different ones. This one might be cute over on this side. A lot of these little bits and pieces, like if you see little things like this, like if you go out to the Goodwill bins or whatever, a lot of this stuff just ends up getting thrown away, but I end up finding little uses for it. One more little tiny pine cone that I'm going to try to fit in here. And then I will take a couple little bits of greenery and we're going to try to decorate it up just a little bit more. So I pulled these ones out, these little balls, but I don't think they're going to work in this project. I think they're going to be a little too big. Don't know where I would put them. Let's see, I mean, I could squeeze one in back there, maybe squeeze them in the back. Let's see. I think I'd rather have some greenery though, rather than those. So I'm not going to even use those. I'm just going to use some greenery. So I have this little miniature greenery. So I'm just going to clip off, I don't know, I'm going to clip off a few inches of it. It has little berries on it also. And I'm just going to work it so that it kind of, it's going to go around the back side of my scene here. And again, I'm just working it around. It's wired, so you can kind of bend it and work it around. So I'm going to bend it and work it around, and then I'll go ahead and glue it down into place. Okay, so I'm just kind of making sure everything is nice and sturdy in here and that everything's glued down. And I'm going to kind of go in with some smaller little pieces now. I'm just clipping off a couple of these little plastic leaves that are from this little hollyberry sprig. And I might even use the berries in the center. I pull apart a lot of these little things and just use little pieces here and there. But I'm going to just glue like a few of these little pieces just so that there's little pops of greenery. Like I'll probably do one like right down in here. So just adding little pops of greenery here and there just helps to kind of pull it all together. All right, I think that is looking really cute, and our cover fits on there. I've been checking it just to make sure so that everything fits in place. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I am going to just set this aside. I'm going to take my miniature garland, and we're going to be wrapping this garland around the outer edge of our cloche cover. So I'm just going to start it on one side with a little bit of hot glue. And we'll just set that garland right down into the hot glue. Hold it for a second. And then I'm just gonna, every inch or so, I'm gonna do just another little dot of hot glue. And just work my way all the way around. All right, so I have my garland all wrapped around the cover to my cloche. Now I'm gonna make like a little handle on the top, and we're gonna use this tiny little cork as a handle. Now, you could just put it on there as is, but I'm going to thread it up with a little bit of this thread. Now, how I'm going to do this, now you could actually make a hanger out of this as well if you wanted to turn this into an ornament. I'm not going to turn mine into an ornament. I want mine to sit on a table. So I'm going to just put a little bit of hot glue just in the bottom of my spool here, and I'm going to stick my thread just in there slightly, just so it has something to start from. And then I'm going to just wrap it around my spool here a few times. And then once I get as much as I want on, so that it looks like the spool is full, then I'm going to put a little bit more hot glue, just a tiny little dot of it, and just set that last little piece of thread into there, into the hot glue, so it doesn't go anywhere. And then I'm going to just leave a little bit, a little tail of it, and we'll just cut a little bit off. And then we're just going to glue this right to the top of our cover here. And make sure that, that you're in the center. And we're just going to glue that right on the top there. Push it right down so that the glue sticks nicely. And you got this little piece here dangling. You could actually like glue it up to the top like that if you wanted it to be off of the, so it kind of looks like it's just sitting there. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just taking tiny little bits of hot glue. I don't want a whole bunch of hot glue, but just tiny little bits, enough to just hold it in place. Okay, so now I have a nice little cover to go onto my can. All right, so now let's just start assembling this can. We have our base over here. We have our lid, which is gonna sit right on top of our base. Now I wanna make sure that when I sit it on top, that I'm having him face in the direction of our words right here. So that looks pretty good. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put a little bit of, a couple little dots of hot glue, just so that it stays shut. If you didn't want this to stay shut, you could keep it open and turn this into like a little gift box as well. So you could put a little gift or something inside there, and it could be a little gift box. That's a great idea also. But I'm just gonna glue mine shut. I wanna make sure my cover goes on okay here. And what you might need to do is you might need to just pull the, pull all of the garland out from, sometimes it kind of goes underneath, so I'm just kind of pulling it out from underneath the cover, and then we'll just set that cover right down on top, just like such. And again, I want mine to be more permanent, so I'm going to just put a little bit of hot glue in random spots just to kind of keep that down. All right, so I have my lid all glued on. It's just about done. I'm just gonna do a couple little extra things. I have a few of these little tiny labels that I'm gonna add. I have this little teeny tiny one that says number 2. I'm just gonna distress this up a little bit, and we're gonna glue this right at the top, on top of our little spool of thread. So we're gonna just kind of stick this right up top up here. Number 2, I just think that's kind of cute. And then I saw this one, I thought this one was really cute. Number 84 Chestnut Street. It has to do with nuts, so like this, he's made this his home. So we're gonna distress this up And it also is a blue color, so it brings in a little bit of the blue from the vintage miniature little golden book in there. I decided I'm going to put this little one right on top of the garland. Just like that. Just on top of the garland. Kind of cute. And then I also have a little 25-cent tag. We're going to stick this on there also. It looks like the little can was 25 cents. And we'll put that just on the front down here. And again, I'm just using hot glue for this only because it's nice and quick. There's our 25 cents. Alrighty, so that is it. Super cute. So this little guy turned out adorable. I have him just sitting on a stack of books right now. Obviously, he's not with any other Christmas decorations, but you could do this for just a regular little decoration. It doesn't have to be Christmas. But I think he turned out adorable in there reading his little golden book. And it's using just a bunch of different scraps. So you can turn kind of junk into cute little treasures. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe, stick around for more Christmas in July DIYs. We will see you again in the next video. Take care.